Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. And today I got a bunch of new gaming stories. Now, there's been a lot of stuff going on in the gaming community. Now, Sony has, in their leaked documents, talked about 60 FPS and a PS5 Pro enhanced mode. We're gonna go over that today. As well, we're gonna see that actually these specifications of Sony's PlayStation 5 Pro is actually true, and I'm going to prove it in today's video. We're also going to talk about PlayStation's new PC overlay. Now, this has a lot of gamers up in arms. A lot of PC gamers are happy that they'll be able to get PlayStation trophies on their PC, and PlayStation gamers, they're not happy about this. So we're going to discuss that as well as some Xbox topics. Now, first, let's start with Sony wanting a 60 FPS PS5 Pro enhanced game mode. Now, this is coming from theverge.com. Like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, the article goes on to say that Sony is working on a new high-end version of the PlayStation 5, codenamed Trinity, and likely to debut as the PlayStation 5 Pro later this year. The Verge confirmed the leaked specs about the PlayStation 5 Pro earlier this week, and we've also obtained details on how existing and new PS5 games can be enhanced to take advantage of the PlayStation 5 Pro hardware. Sony is also working on an Ultra Boost mode for older games to make them run better on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Sources familiar with Sony's plans tell Verge that Sony is asking developers to create a new PS5 Pro exclusive graphics mode in games that combine Sony's new PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution PSSR, upscaling to 4K resolution with 60 FPS frame rate and ray tracing effects. Insider Gaming first reported on some of these enhanced PS5 Pro game details last month. Now, while Sony wants this new mode in games, the PS5 Pro Enhanced label will still be available for a variety of other scenarios that include 30 FPS games. Developers have the option of increasing the target resolution on PS5 Pro games that run at a fixed resolution on PS5, or even increasing the target maximum resolution for games that run at a variable resolution on the PlayStation 5. So this means that PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced games run between 1080p and 1440p resolution at 30 FPS on the base PS5 and run at 1280p and 2160p on the PlayStation 5 Pro at the same frame rate. A fixed resolution increase from 1440p to 4K would also qualify as a PS5 Pro Enhanced game. Now, developers can also choose to enable ray tracing effects and get the PS5 Pro Enhanced label without improving resolution or frame rates. If a developer wants to target 60 FPS instead of 30 FPS with the same resolution, this may also qualify as a PS5 Pro Enhanced game. Now, this is pretty crazy. Now, a lot of people in the comment sections, because I kind of posted this on my Twitter, and they're like, oh, games are not going to reach 60 FPS on the PlayStation 5 Pro. They're still going to be at 30 FPS. Now, I want to make something clear here. There are games that are CPU bound, and there are games that are GPU bound. The games that are GPU bound to like 30, 40 FPS, with the increase in the GPU bandwidth and just a much better GPU, those games will have the potential to reach 60 FPS and above. Now, if the game is CPU bound and say it's at 30, the extra 10%, and I would say you get a little bit more with the latency as well, because you're going to get better latency on the PlayStation 5 Pro. So let's just say 15%. So some of those games that are running at 30 FPS would be running at 45 FPS on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, we don't know what PSSR will do. We have to see this in demonstration. So we'll just take this out of the equation for this example. Now, the game running at 45 FPS on a PlayStation 5 Pro at a higher resolution with VRR is a huge improvement over the PlayStation 5. I don't know how you can spin it any other way. Now, preferably, of course, I want all of my games at 60 FPS. But the games that are running at 30 FPS on the PlayStation 5, they'll run at a higher resolution. Like I said, 45 FPS with VRR on is much better than 30 FPS. Now, I see a lot of games getting better ray tracing effects. So say you're getting 45 FPS with ray tracing turned to the maximum. I don't think anyone's going to complain about that. And like I said, games that are GPU bound, they'll be able to run at a higher resolution with ray tracing and 60 FPS and possibly higher. Any way you look at it, the PS5 Pro is a big bump in performance over the base PS5. And what I don't understand and what I don't like is when Xbox fans, and listen, this channel is Xbox centric, but I always call it like it is. And when Xbox fans try to make fun and ridicule the PlayStation 5 Pro, I just don't understand it, because when multi-platform games come out, they're gonna run and look better on the PlayStation 5 Pro. The first party exclusives, they're gonna look and run better on the PlayStation 5 Pro. The Xbox Series X, we're not getting a more powerful refresh, at least from the leaks. It seems that we're gonna get a digital Xbox Series X that's a little bit smaller, more efficient, but it's gonna have the same performance. And I don't think that's gonna bode well against the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, anything can happen, so we have till the end of the year to see what transpires on Microsoft's side. But the PlayStation 5 Pro is real, it's happening. And I think it's going to be the default place where gamers want to play their multi-platform games. And yes, exclusives matter, they do. But multi-plats is what gets played and gets bought the most. And if you have a console that plays the best multi-platform games, guess what? Gamers are going to want to play on that platform. Now, I also said earlier that I'm going to prove that the PlayStation 5 Pro specs leak was actually accurate. Now, the video from Moore's Law is Dead, which was the first video to actually go into details on this, was hit with a copyright claim from Sony. Now, this is coming from videochronicles.com. Like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, they go on to say the documentation explaining the console specification was first leaked by YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead last month. The information was subsequently verified by IGN, which said the document came from Sony Interactive Entertainment Developer Network. However, as spotted in the Verge Tom Warren's video by Moore's Law is Dead, is now offline with a message saying it's no longer available due to copyright claim by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Now, if everything was cap in that video, Sony would not go through the trouble of getting it taken down. So obviously there is some real information in there, and Sony doesn't want you to know about it. So for all the detractors out there that say the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's still a rumor, it's not coming out, I don't know how you guys can still be in denial. The PlayStation 5 Pro is happening. Now, will it come out this year? I'm not 100% sure on that. It's on track to come out this year, but they could delay it to the early part of 2025. The point is that the PlayStation 5 Pro is real. And when you see that Moore's Law is Dead, his original video on it was taken down by Sony, I don't know how you guys can still be in denial. The PlayStation 5 Pro is coming sooner than later. Now, also, I want to touch on the PlayStation games on PC getting a trophies and sync system with the PlayStation 5 console. That's right, you heard it correctly. You'll be able to get your trophies playing PlayStation games on PC. And a lot of PlayStation gamers are really upset about this. And I just don't understand, why are you guys upset about this? Don't all of you guys have a high-end PC? I remember when Microsoft was releasing their games on PC, all of you guys said you're not going to get an Xbox because you already have a high-end PC, so you're going to keep your PlayStation and play your Xbox games on PC. Now you have the ability to play your PlayStation games on PC with better graphics, and now you get your trophies. So do you still need your PlayStation 5 console? You know, in all seriousness, it's just a bunch of hypocrisy. If these games came out day and date, a lot of these guys wouldn't be playing on their PlayStation 5. All this nonsense is just said for console wars. Personally, I wish all of the PlayStation games came on PC day and date. And when you see that Sony is being more aggressive with their launching of games on the PC. They've said this in their literature. They've come out and said that they're going to be more aggressive. Now, if you're going to be more aggressive, that means more games are coming to PC and they're going to come closer to the launch date. And I believe eventually they're going to release their games day and date, because I've said it many times before. Console and PC platforms are two separate gamers. Yes, there's a little bit of flow over, but it's not that much. A guy that has a 4090 in his rig, he's not clamoring to get a PlayStation 5. Yes, there's guys like me that own everything, but they are few and far between. And you better believe it that Sony sees all the money that Microsoft is making, and they want to release their games on more platforms. They've said this. They said they're going to be more aggressive in the PC space. And when you see that PlayStation games are getting trophies on PC, you know that Sony is serious. Eventually, these games are going to come day and date. You know why? Because it makes financial sense. I'll give you a recent example. Helldivers 2 released day and date on PC and PlayStation, and that game is doing gangbuster numbers. Nobody predicted that the game would do as well as it's doing. Now, if they were releasing their games day and date on PC and the PlayStation 5, you better believe that their sales numbers would be much higher, and Sony is definitely taking note. Now, I'm going to go over to Twitter here. We're going to look at J-Rock's post. He says 3 years and they've maxed out the potential. Remakes, remastered, cross-gen games, next-gen games that look cross-gen. Now, there was an article that came out that the PlayStation 5 Pro is needed for advanced visuals performance as there's no untapped PS5 potential due to the CPU and GPU design. Now, I've said this for quite some time that the CPUs that are inside of these consoles, they're becoming a bottleneck. Yes, it's much better than the Jaguar CPUs that we had in previous consoles, but it's far behind the technology that's available on PC right now, and we're seeing that with a lot of games still reaching 30 FPS. Now, I should clarify, I don't want to say a lot of games, but there are some games that are still trapped at 30 FPS, and that is due to the CPU. So, like I've said before, we cover Xbox stuff on this channel, but we're always going to keep it real. And we're not knocking J-Rock. J-Rock does what he does. But I just got to clarify, if this is the case for the PlayStation 5, then what is the case for the Xbox Series X? It just doesn't make sense because they're pretty much the same besides a couple of teraflops. And we're not seeing that actually giving the Xbox an advantage because most of the games that come out, they look and run the same on both consoles. Yes, the Xbox on some games runs at a higher resolution, but those same games on the PlayStation 5 are running at a higher frame rate, and they switch back and forth depending on the game. So both of the systems are pretty much equal. So if the PlayStation 5 is tapped out, so is the Xbox Series X. And once again, with the PlayStation 5 Pro coming out, I don't understand how Xbox guys could be saying this. They're laughing, saying, oh, the PlayStation 5 is tapped out. The PlayStation 5 has had the best looking games this generation. You can't even argue that. It's undeniable. Now, Microsoft has a great game coming out with HellBlade 2. It is probably going to have the best visuals in any game that was created on a console. I'll say that for sure. However, when you look at the magnitude, or I should say the number of titles that look and run fantastic on the PlayStation 5, it's no comparison to the Xbox Series X first-party games. So comments like this just don't make sense. And I feel a lot of these guys, it's cope, to be honest with you, because they know a more powerful PlayStation 5 Pro is coming out, and Xbox doesn't have an answer for that. And it's going to get a lot worse when the PlayStation 5 Pro actually hits this year, and the games or the multi-plat games look and run better on that system. You're going to wish that Microsoft actually released a mid-generation refresh because the games are going to look and run substantially better on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, I don't want it to be all bad news for Xbox because Microsoft is actually doing pretty good on the PlayStation platform. In the store's top 25, there are more Xbox best-selling games than Sony actually has. It's pretty crazy. And this is also partly to do with the Fallout show. Now, I just finished watching the season of Fallout, and I gotta tell you guys, it exceeded my expectations. I would never in a million years thought that this show would have been so good. In fact, this show had no business being as good as it was. And because this show was so good, it's actually causing a resurgence in Fallout games. People are buying and wanting to play these games. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I never really played Fallout that much. I maybe played like through the first level. I just wasn't into that type of role-playing game. I found that the graphics were just a little bit janky in the movement. I just didn't like it at that time. However, even I want to go back and play that game now, much less the people that were invested in the Fallout universe. So this is great news for Microsoft. This is great news for the Fallout show. If you have not watched the show, definitely watch this show. It is up there as one of the best shows that I've seen in the last 10 years. And I'm not capping on this. It really is a fantastic show. It's causing a resurgence in the Fallout games, which is good for Microsoft, which is good for the Xbox brand. Now, I wish I could give you guys more Xbox news, but there's nothing really to discuss at this point in time. Now, it's good to see that we're going to have a great game coming up soon with HellBlade 2. It looks fantastic. I hope it plays well. The first game, it was kind of slow paced. I hope this game has a much better pace. It looks like it's gonna still be a corridor game, which is a little bit misleading because in the beginning when I saw this game, it kind of looked like it was more of an open world, and it looks like it's gonna be more of a corridor, but I'm hoping that the story is good and that the gameplay is good. But one thing that we cannot deny is that the visuals are fantastic in HellBlade 2, and I actually have no doubts that this will be the best looking game on console to date. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think about all of the news. What do you think about the dedicated PlayStation 5 Pro mode? What do you think about Moore's Law's dead video being taken down? Does this prove that the leak was true? If not, why would Sony go through all the trouble of removing that video? What are your thoughts on Sony's new PlayStation PC overlay that you'll be able to share your trophies on Ghost of Tsushima on your PlayStation 5 and your PC? Do you think more games will follow? And do you think that this signals that a lot of games are going to be coming to the PC a lot sooner than later and eventually day and date? I also want to know your thoughts basically on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Do you think that it's necessary? Do you think that it's needed? And do you think that the uptick in performance will be much better on the PlayStation 5 Pro versus the base PlayStation 5? And of course, what are your thoughts on the Fallout show and the resurgence on the Fallout games on all platforms? Let me know in the comment section down below. Like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.